Season 1 of The Mandalorian is fully released on Disney+, and The Rise of Skywalker has become yet another $1 billion film in the Star Wars franchise. But what's next for Star Wars? There are a laundry list of directions that the franchise can take from here, but it's really a clean slate. Under the ownership of Walt Disney, the 6 live-action Star Wars properties that have been released have left fans and critics divided at every turn. While the sequel trilogy has introduced compelling new characters and innovative Force abilities, it is time for Star Wars to enter a new era and, in turn, a new saga. Rather than dipping into the extended universe source material or producing films based on video game or novel characters, what if Star Wars truly goes back to its roots? George Lucas made Star Wars a genre film set in space. A New Hope is a Western. It's heavily inspired by film tropes from decades before its origination. As the mythos and legend status of what we now call the Skywalker saga has grown over 42 plus years, Star Wars has reinvented its own genre, tropes, and themes. Now, I love the sequel trilogy, but isn't it time for the franchise to take that second big leap that Lucas took? Rogue One was captivating and engaging. It was a true boots-on-the-ground war film, and hinted at some of the underworld and outer rim tones that we have seen in Solo and in The Mandalorian. Those stories were refreshing, they were different, but they were still based in a world that was very familiar. It felt like Star Wars. So what if our new saga, the new sandbox for the franchise, doesn't necessarily feel like Star Wars? Something completely different, off the wall, and refreshing. I'd love to see stories from 500 years before Anakin Skywalker's birth. I would be equally excited to see how the Force continued to develop decades and centuries after Rey's story concluded in The Rise of Skywalker. Do I love the saga's characters? Of course I do. But the galaxy is a big place, and Star Wars fans deserve new ideas and new concepts. I don't think it's too much to ask the Star Wars franchise and Lucasfilm Limited to really step in a bold direction. They've made 5 feature films since they purchased Lucasfilm from George Lucas, and 4 of them have made over $1 billion. I think they have a little bit of leeway to play around and see what fans are really willing to sit through. And to be honest, a lot of the compelling extended universe stories, like The Old Republic and The Force Unleashed, are great stories that really expand on the Star Wars mythos and what the Force really is. But do we need to see those stories go on the big screen? We don't necessarily need regurgitated information. To me, that feels more like a fan film. That feels more like something that you would never imagine to actually see as a franchise moving forward and creating something brand new for their audience. Because the reality is, Star Wars is going to continue to grow. Its stories are 42 years old, and a lot of the fans that started with the original Star Wars in 1977 never imagined they were going to see 8 movies built around this giant saga. It was originally just a Western film in space, and I'd love to see Star Wars embrace the idea of making more genre films set in the Star Wars galaxy. Show me a horror film in Star Wars. Show me a deep character study, expand on ideas, and make the fans sitting in your audience on opening night say, "Wow, I never thought I wanted that in Star Wars, and I can't believe how much I love seeing it." To me, that's where Star Wars needs to go next, and I'm curious to hear what you think too. Thanks so much for listening, and subscribe to the channel if you're interested in joining my discussion about the things that I love like Star Wars.